Hey everybody, it's GomletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of the brand new Phyrexia All Will Be One Alchemy set. This is basically a premiere draft of Phyrexia All Will Be One, except that one common out of every pack has been replaced with an alchemy card. So, gonna spice things up a little bit here. Today's video is going to have a little bit less commentary than usual and be a little bit more subdued, as I am again down with the sickness, but I did not want to just upload an old recording as we've got the new cards, the new set to draft. Want to keep up to date with that. So without further ado, we'll get into our pack one, pick one. We have one of the strongest bomb rares in the whole format. We'll just scoop that up. Blue is seen as one of the weakest colors in the format, but there's some decent ways to draft it. And hopefully we can find a decent blue deck here with Blue Sun's Twilight, an incredible bomb rare, letting us steal an opposing threat and create a copy of it. Well, this is pretty wild. We get a pack 1, pick 2 Urabrask's Forge. I think this is another very powerful card. It's not an excellent top deck later in the game, but it makes up for that by being almost impossible to beat if you play it turn 3. So we'll just take Urabrask's Forge here. Starting off in blue-red is a little weird, a little strange, but could be powerful if we have super powerful bombs like Blue Sun's Twilight and Forge. If that weren't in here, Skitterfang is a pretty powerful card that leaves us completely open. That would probably be the pick. And then next up is like Chimney Rabble, I guess. Pick 3 now. We do see another rare, but again, with the alchemy cards in every pack, there are going to be multiple rares in a lot of these packs. This is a 2-mana 3/1 Menace. That's a really good aggressive body. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. If a card is exiled, you can conjure a duplicate into the top 5 cards of your library. Interesting. So you start stacking your library up with stuff. So it's mainly a 2-mana 3/1 Menace. Cool card. Don't think it's a huge reason to jump into another color yet, though. Could take Eye of Malcator, try to become the Artifact aggro blue deck, or we could just take Chimney Rabble, which is a great addition to any red deck. I think this card's a little more flexible. We'll go for the Chimney Rabble here. Go with our Urabrask's Forge. Alright, pack 1, pick 4. Looks like a pretty easy pick to follow that up. We can just scoop up a Volt Charge for an efficient red removal spell. Go with our Urabrask's Forge, Chimney Rabble start. Again, there's another Eye of Malcator. If these wheel, pretty great spot to be in, because then we can try to go for like blue-red Artifact aggro, run our Urabrask's Forge and our Blue Sun's Twilight. I don't think I want to jump onto the Eye of Malcators this early when they're competing with just super solid cards that fit into more strategies. The best cards we see in pack 1, pick 5 are in white. I guess there's a Predation in green, which is solid. But in white, we have great early creatures like Justiciar and Crawling Chorus. Kemba's Outfitter is a pretty cool new alchemy card for decks with a good amount of equipment in them. Could also just take Terramorphic Expanse, stay a little open there. Run that in anything that needs a little bit of fixing. Chorus is not going to be good in red-white, and we're already 3 very good cards deep into red. Justiciar or Kemba's Outfitter would both be fine in there, and they're kind of the best cards in the pack. Predation's also fine. I'm going to take Outfitter. It's the coolest new card, and it'll be pretty good if we get to go into red-white equipment. And with 3 solid white cards in that pack, that look to be the most open color for that pack at least. This pack looks super weak overall. We can probably just take the best blue card. Actually close between Ichor Synthesizer and Tezzeret's Reckoning. I guess we'll go for the new hotness here. This does seem like a good card draw spell. Exile 3 random cards from your library face down and look at them. For as long as they remain exiled, you may play one of them. So it's like Anticipate, but instead of having to put one into your hand immediately, you get to choose what card you want to play as late as you want. You could play this on turn 2 and still not choose which card to play until like turn 10. You get to delay that decision, which is pretty cool. I don't love Thrill of Possibility or Aspirant's Ascent in our main colors here, so we just take a black card. Head Cleaver's not going to be good with red. Could be fine if we go blue-black. Kind of same with Scrap Trap. Testament Bearer could be solid in either, so we'll go for the Bearer. Okay, Stinging Hive Master, another card that's not really going to be great with our red, because again, red and black just don't pair well, because the best thing that black can do is the toxic stuff, and red just does not do any toxic. Still think Hive Master is probably the best card in the pack. We can scoop it up here, potentially end up in like blue-black or black-white poison. Splash it into Urbrash's Forge, since it only costs 1 red mana. Who knows? Yeah, now we see a Furnace Strider in red. It's competing with a Testament Bearer and a Head Cleaver. Not a huge fan of the Aspirants. Actually don't have any non-black toxic cards still. I'll just go Furnace Strider. Annihilating Glare, pretty great in black. Complete Devotion's good in white if you have a lot of white toxic creatures. We only have 1 white card right now though, and it's Outfitter. Just take the Annihilating Glare. Scrap Trap. Meld Up Curator, I mean, you can put the Blue Sun's Twilight back on top of your deck, which is very stupid. Very, very stupid. I might actually take that over Scrap Trap. And here we are wheeling an Eye of Malcator. That could be a thing. I'm not going to play Anonymous like no matter what, so I'll just put a Spore Singer in the side. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. We do get a mythic rare alchemy card, which is a really cool, really fun one. A 3-mana, 3/3 Vigilant Elephant Artificer. Whenever it attacks, conjure a Tempered Steel into your hand and create a 1/1. Good lord, that is powerful. The problem is there's also Koth Fire Resistance. So we could just have 2 really powerful red bomb rares. Strictly trying to win, 100% we take Koth here. But there's an argument for the Elephant just because we are playing the Alchemy draft. Play a little more of the Alchemy cards, could be fun, but I'm going to go for the Koth here.
Enough talking. Fists up.
Alchemy rare out of this pack is a 3-colored card, and it doesn't do anything unless you seek cards, so it only works with other Alchemy cards, so it's really narrow. So not in love with that. Take a Sawblade Scamp or a Cacophony Scamp. Both are fine additions to our red deck. Solid black cards again between Hive Master and Blightbelly Rat for toxic strategies. Not too much else in the pack. I guess there's a Predation in green. We don't really have any ways to buff up the Cacophony Scamp right now, but it is really good if you get some combat tricks or equipment, so I think I will take it and maybe draft around it a bit. Scamp is, like, the Cacophony Scamp is higher upside, but it requires a little bit of building around. The Sawblade Scamp is more consistently just always a fine card, so we could take that there. Oh, so here's a card I absolutely love out of the Alchemy cards. Hexgold Sledge is absurd. This is 3 mana for an equipment with 4 Mirrodin. So 3 mana for a 2/2 Rebel that enters the battlefield equipped with this equipment that gives +1/+0. So 3 mana for a 3/2. And you get a Goblin Gavalier, a 1/1 trample, onto the board as well. So 3 mana for a 3/2 and a 1/1 trample. And you get to move this equipment around for +1/+0 to wherever you need it. And if you put this equipment on the Gavalier, that Gavalier becomes a 4/1 trample. Sledge is absurd. We're very happy to take it. Pack 2, pick 4. There's a Hazardous Blast there. Also a Contagious Vorak. There's also a Mere Convert, which is a nice mana ramp for any deck. Little Accelerant there. I'm going to take Mere Convert here, but Hazardous Blast also great. Vorak also great. Super good pack. Pack 2, pick 5. We now see a Lattice Blade Mantis as what looks to be the strongest card. Attendant is fine. I don't really like Magmatic Sprinter. Never a huge fan of these cards. You have to consistently keep recasting over and over again to get your value out of them. Mesmerizing Dose is okay in blue. Do have that Blue Sun's Twilight Curator out of the blue half of our deck. We could try to stick to it here over moving towards Lattice Blade Mantis green. I'll take Dose. Oh wow, pack 2, pick 6, Rebel Salvo versus Vindictive Flamestoker. These are both incredible red cards. The Flamestoker is a little bit slow, but when you hit the late game, you can sack it and just draw a fresh hand of 4 cards, which is ridiculous. Then the Rebel Salvo. that 3 mana instant for 5 damage to any target and make it lose indestructible. I think I'm just going to take the excellent removal spell, take the salvo, but Flamestoker is also great and could definitely be the pick. For pack 2, pick 7, I guess we have an... For pack 2, pick 7, we have some filler blue cards, some filler red cards. I think either look great. I guess I just like Glisteners here a lot when we have multiple bombs in the deck. Being able to play a 1-mana 0/3, sit there and block 2/2s. And then also just scry into finding our most powerful cards like Koth and Blue Sun's Twilight and stuff can be pretty good. Actually do like the Glisteners here there. Really need to find some 2-mana cards next pack. We have none. We have 2 1-drops and nothing at 2. I don't love any of these cards. I guess Chrome Prowler to go with the Eye of Malcator. Now that it looks like we're getting a little more committed to blue. Oh, I really like Chimney Rabble. Happy to see that. Pick 9. Take that. We could also take Prism. But I guess if we're maining blue-red, we don't really have anything to cut. I don't know how Mirror Convert got on the sideboard. This is looking pretty reasonable. And another artifact here, and another 2-drop with Escaped Experiment. Sawblade Scamp's also good, but let's get our first 2-drop here. More artifacts to work with the Eye of Malcator as well, potentially. Quicksilver Fisher, I've got a lot of 3s, we'll get another 5. It's another card that can let us dig, and there's an Ichor Synthesizer, that's a very good 2-drop. Magmatic Sprinter, I don't think I'm playing. Forge Hammer Centurion, I don't think I'm playing. And for pack 3, we of course open up the strongest white rare in the set. The Eternal Wanderer. A board wipe where you choose the best creature on your board, the worst creature on your opponent's. Turn the board state into that. We could play Experimental Augury in blue, but that is the only thing we could play in our blue-red deck, so I'm just going to take this Eternal Wanderer. We have 1 Mirror Convert and that's it.
Oh, I've made it just in time.
Not really splashing her in yet, but who knows what the future could hold. It's another pack with basically no blue or red cards. It's another experiment, which is okay. Ichor Plate Golem could be okay as well. We have a little bit of oil going on. But I've got a lot of 3-mana stuff. I'll just take another Escaped Experiment. Could also splash in a Ravager, I guess. Also be fine. Okay. These rares are too slow, or too off color here. Take an Experimental Augury this time. Just gonna be digging for bombs with this deck. I don't think we can use a Mox Opal well enough to want to run the 2-mana 1/1 that gives us a Mox Opal. It's just not always going to be tapping for mana, so it's going to be a 2-mana 1/1 that does nothing relatively often. Probably just take Trawler Drake. I don't think that Thrumming Bird is a good enough 2-drop to really impact the board in terms of attacks and blocks to kind of count on curve there, so we'll just take Trawler Drake. Another Chimney Rabble versus Malcator's Watcher. How badly do I need 2-drops? Got 5 of them. I guess I have 4 of them and 2 1-drops. That's 6 cards I can play at 2 mana or less. I'm going to take another Chimney Rabble. You can't stop me. I love that card. Thing is ridiculous. We'll take an Ichor Synthesizer here. Our board state's never going to be big enough to profit too much from the unblockable part of Hazardous Blast. So this is just here to try to wipe opposing boards. Does get rid of like half the utility. Anointer's also fine here, but it's 4 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have like 5 cards that come with oil. I feel like we take Synthesizer over the Urbrask's Anointer. I think I might actually take Gataxian Raptor or Furnace Punisher here. Might be dropping Eye of Malcator at this point. The artifact side of the deck. Just kind of blue-red good stuff. And there's another Urbrasks in winter if I get a little bit more oily stuff. Sure, Free from Flesh adds to the oil. Insight's also fine. It's a 5 mana card that doesn't impact the board. I guess we don't really care too much about combat tricks though. Okay, a bunch of stuff we're probably not playing, and it looks like no mana fixing for us in the last pack means we're not gonna play that Eternal Wanderer in here. Don't really like Bring the Ending, but I'm not gonna play 2 Vivisurgeon's Insights. Alright, let's go ahead and build this deck, see how it is. Alright, so we've got the deck all sorted out by creatures and equipment. It looks like we're at 18 creatures and 1 equipment, so 19 creatures in this deck. Definitely cut a few of those. I think we are dropping the Eye of Malcator artifact aggro kind of plan from the deck. So we can drop some of the more mediocre artifact creatures. Drop a Chrome Prowler. Card's still pretty fine, but do have a lot of 3s. I don't really want to cut too many 2 mana cards or anything like that. If I cut any of those, it'll be the experiments here. Still have 5 cards that cost 2 or less, but that's a little low for the format. I think we'll definitely drop Eye of Malcator at the very least. That'll be the first cut from the deck. Insight's pretty slow, but again, it does dig for bombs between Koth, Urbrask's Forge, and Blue Sun's Twilight, and that's kind of what we want to do here. Play a lot of card draw and scry, just dig for our giant, very high impact plays. Most of what our deck is doing. I guess even without the Vivisurgeon's Insight, we still have Experimental Augury, Tezzeret's Reckoning, and Glistener Seer. Digging through the deck. Quicksilver Fisher also draws a card, discards a card. Not look bad. Yeah, drop a Prowler, drop an Insight. Like one of these experiments. I kind of want to drop all the experiments, but I don't think we're high enough on removal, at least not cheap removal, to do that. We do have Dose, Rebel Salvo, and Volt Charge, so we have 3 removal spells, plus Blue Sun's Twilight's kind of a 4th, but we really want really cheap cards that impact the board to cut down on 2 drops, like multiple Hex Gold Slashes or stuff like that, and we don't have any of those. I'm not going to drop Curator, even though I maybe should, just because it's so funny if we can Blue Sun's Twilight and then play a Curator to put it back on top. I think it actually just goes infinite with it as well. It'd be a really bad way to go infinite, but if I had 7 mana, I can spend 7 and target my own Curator. It would make a copy, and the copy would put Twilight back into my library. So, if we ever get to a board state where spending 7 mana to just make a 3/4 every turn and skip my next draw step is a winning position, then I guess I could do that. That doesn't seem like it's ever going to be a thing, though. But it's cute. It's cute that it's an option. Yeah, I mean, I'm just really not seeing anything else to cut, so I'm going to drop an Escaped Experiment here. At least one of them. Don't feel like I really want to cut any lands. Blue Sun's Twilight requiring that 7 mana to really pop off, and we have 5 4-mana creatures and a 4-mana Planeswalker. Couple 5 drops. Don't have anything that particularly works with the Cacophony Scamp well, but it does just block pretty well, especially against 1 toughness creatures. But even like 2 mana 2/2s, it can trade up on blocks into them. I don't hate it. It'd be good enough on win conditions to kind of drop Trawler Drake, because it does not block well for a few turns after you play it. And the whole point is it kind of slowly but surely turns into a big win con. Don't think we need that kind of card in here. So we get to our high mana costs and just drop Twilight, Koth, Forge. Try to go that way. That's a potential cut. Could cut one of the Rabbles because we're not that aggressive, but they're still really good to just have 2 bodies off 1 card, even if I'm just trying to block with those bodies. Could drop one of the 2-mana card draw spells, but I want to try the new alchemy cards like Tezzeret's Reckoning, and they're both, again, going to be digging for our big win conditions. It's a little weird. I'm just going to be really bad against aggro and just cut another 2-drop. I just think Escaped Experiment's just not very good in this deck. It's entirely just in here to try to block. It's just a 2-mana 2-1 with no text mainly, which is pretty horrific, so hopefully we don't get into incredibly aggressive matchups. That is a big ask for this format, though. It's the most aggressive format that Magic Arena has ever had. Just factually, statistically, we have the data on that on 17 lands. So, not running that many 2-drops could be a problem. But other than that, though, I think the deck looks pretty fun. Some ways to clutter up the board well with Hex Gold Slashes and triple Rabbles, putting out multiple creatures off of 1 card. Just a good creature count in general, and some good removal with Dose, Salvo, and Volt Charge to stay alive for a while. And then we're just digging, trying to get to one of these big win cons, using them to close out the game. Looks like a pretty legit deck. We'll call it there, and we'll just head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for Game 1, and we're really going to show off the power of Turn 3 Urabrask's Forge here. We even have the Scamp being able to use its kind of flavor text there to proliferate when we sacrifice it, if that seems like it'll be good. If our opponent has main deck artifact removal, then we probably have a game here, but if not, hopefully the Forge on turn 3 can just take us to victory. And now we are going to get into some of that chill, low commentary gameplay today. My voice definitely needs a break at this point. Our opponent is on blue-red, and they've dropped a turn 2 Barbed Batterfist. Opponent shows us Natural Grixis turn 3, with a swamp hitting the board. Batterfist is coming in. I'm not going to block it here. Drawn into a Mesmerizing Dose, which is a great draw. If they play another good creature of any kind, we get to lock it down and proliferate onto the Forge and the Synthesizer. I am going to sack the Scamp here so I get to proliferate on Synthesizer and Forge and shoot their Batterfist. Seems very good to me. And then we'll play Convert and pass. We have been Sheoldred's Edicted to make us sacrifice our Ichor Synthesizer. And our opponent has cast a Charforger, and unfortunately Mesmerizing Dose is not very good against it, because it doesn't shut off its ability. We do draw into a Chimney Rabble to play. Forge is making 4/1s with Trample now. Kind of a strange block from our opponent. They choose to chump block 1 of our 4 power trampling damage instead of just chumping 3 from Rabble. But we're certainly happy with it. Get them down to 8, and they play a Necrosquito now. We lock that down with the dose. Mainly just in the interest of getting Urbrask's Forge to become larger. Dose on Necrosquito puts them dead on board, and we are going to find our first victory, 1-0 to start it off. Alright, here we are in game 2. Starting things off with a turn 1 Glistener Seer to set up our draws seems pretty good. We even got the Convert on 2 to play a Chimney Rebel on turn 3. Clutter up that board nice and early. We are on the draw here, but again with a 0-3 to play turn 1, I'm not super worried about my opponent's early aggro. Our opponent is on black-white. Right. Opponent played nothing on turn 2. We followed with a Mere Convert. Now turn 3, Ambulatory Edifice is going to ruin my day. Blowing up the Mere Convert for free. Okay, just making sure to put a stop in the upkeep since Glistener Seer can't block this edifice anyway. Might as well scry again, see if we find a better turn 3 play. Find an additional island to scry to the bottom, so we've gotten 2 lands out of the way with Glistener Seer, so that's some value there. Drop a Trawler Drake. I don't think I'm going to scry in my next upkeep. I'm probably just going to tap out for Chimney Rabble, so we don't need to scry into a specific play next turn. Alright, Phyrexian Atlas for mana fixing from our opponent. Mesmerizing Dose is actually a pretty sweet draw here, because that'll be really good with Glistener Seer and Trawler Drake for the double Proliferate. We just play Chimney Rabble for now, though. And get racing, because we can definitely outrace them as soon as we cast Augury and Dose and buff the Trawler Drake here. Opponent drops an Ossification to exile the Trawler Drake. Sadness. Blight Belly Rat as well from our opponent. And they're just going to pass the turn. Another chimney rabble's pretty fine here. Can really clutter up the board. Could also just augury and just still be focused on drawing into something good. I don't know, feels fine to just rabble here and pass. Planar Disruption, one of our chimney rabbles. And a Bone Picker Scourge. We are completely uncorrupted, so just a 2/2 flyer. Probably still will Mesmerizing Dose that, since none of their other stuff can really get through all our goblin tokens. Cacophony Scamp. Interesting, not great. I am going to augury here and see what we find. Tezzret's Reckoning and then see what we find again. Synthesizer's okay, that could be a win condition. Pretty slow, but it can get there. I guess I'd rather just grab Synthesizer here. And keep expanding to the board state. And we can still use the Glistener Seer to scry into our next play. Can also Meldweb Curator the Experimental Augury to the top, get a double Proliferate on Synthesizer, an oil counter for casting a non-creature, and an oil counter for proliferating. Charge of the Mites, kill another chimney rabble, you got it. Our opponent will hit us for 2 in the sky with their Bone Picker Scourge. We'll now scry with Glistener Seer. Find another land, dump that on the bottom. Draw for turn. Find a Furnace Punisher. Cool. And I dose the Bone Picker Scourge and play a Cacophony Scamp. Opponent drawing a card off their draw pits. Alright, so we've proliferated onto the Seer. So we have another scry off of it. And the Synthesizer is halfway towards attacking as an unblockable creature. Vat of Rebirth. Pretty good card if the game goes long. They can start reanimating creatures from their graveyard. Whenever their artifacts and creatures die, they get an oil counter on it. They also play a Sheoldred's Headcleaver for a 2 toxic creature with Menace as well. And they're just going in. They want to clear out some of our board here for Vat of Rebirth to pop off. Okay, I'll get the free block on the rat, and I think trade Scamp into Edifice is fine. So I have Goblin tokens to get a double block on Headcleaver more easily later. So yeah, they have 1 out of 4 counters on the Vat now. And I will scry. There's the Blue Sun's Twilight. Now we need to scry into lands, now that I've put like 5 on the bottom. So that's great. But it is good to draw it here. Now we know what we're setting up for. I could even double it up with Curator. Only steals creatures, right? Yeah. Cannot steal their VAT. Play Furnace Punisher. Board state's locked up, and then we just try to scry into lands. Tempted to Curator and put Augury on top, because by playing Augury, Synthesizer is going to be able to start attacking, plus we get to dig for the land for the Twilight. I obviously won't get to Curator the Twilight back on top anymore, but still feels pretty good. Yeah, also puts a 3/4 body on board, which is pretty big. Sheoldred's Assimilator is their play, a 3/1 menace. They get to put a copy of an exiled card into their library, so they're going to put a Charge of the Mites into their library somewhere in the top 5. And they're going to pass the turn. Okay, we play our Augury here to start attacking with Synthesizer. Find our 6th out of 7 mana for Blue Sun's Twilight. Their plan's definitely to charge the Mites the Synthesizer, but we still have the board state pretty well defended without it, and then we use Blue Sun's Twilight to pivot the game in our favor. Well, we definitely found our land. That would have been really unfortunate if I didn't want the land there. Alright, fingers crossed that Charge of the Mites they put in their deck is it's the 5th card. It's random in the top 5, so it could be the top card if they're very lucky here. Get that 1 out of 5 chance. Cutthroat Centurion is the play. That's actually really good with the Vat of Rebirth on their board. They can just sack the Bone Picker Scourge, and then sack the Chorus, then sack a Mite, They can only sack one thing per turn, but still. Alright, so we're going to use the Shieldred's Assimilator here. Exile an Experimental Augury to put one into their deck. I guess with Atlas they can cast it. Okay. Yeah, there's an Augury in their deck now. Interesting. They kill a Goblin. We kill a Assimilator. Or they kill the Seer, that's fine too. I can't get any more oil counters on it, so it served its function. Okay, there's a Volt Charge. Not bad. Still 1 mana from being able to steal something and get a copy with Twilight. It's like it might have been a pretty lucky roll for us with the Assimilator. Looks like Charge of the Might still might not be there yet. Vat of Rebirth is at 3 out of 4. I could have Volt Charged the Centurion in response, but I want to keep this to shoot their face when they're at 8 life here. Cruel Grimnarch, that's actually horrific. Jesus Christ, yeah, that's... We know they have a Charge of the Mights somewhere in the next 3 cards. If it's not the next card, we hit them with Synthesizer twice and Volt Charge and kill them. If it is the next card, Blue Sun's Twilight is a much stronger card in our hand. I'm going to discard the Volt Charge. I actually have so many lands on the bottom of my deck, it's kind of absurd here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're not that likely to find the 7th for Twilight. Part of that is not our fault. Part of that was Experimental Augury. Hit 3 lands in one chunk somehow. We can only take one of them, obviously. Could have hasted out Strider. What would they do there? They go block, free, block for free, kill, kill. They take 3 more damage. If anything good to pick up with the Vat? Not particularly. But if I kill Grimnarch, they will. Probably just trying to Blue Sun's Twilight for lethal next turn, steal one of their blockers and attack with everybody. This sorcery speed? Yes. they can only reanimate something with the vat. During their turn, they can't get a surprise blocker. Okay, they're going to use the vat to pick up their Scourge. They have 3 mana left. Did they also hit Charge the Mites to kill Synthesizer? Maybe. If they did not choose to cast it yet. Oh, okay. Alright, we're definitely good now. I was going to say, Blue Sun's Twilight for 5, or for 4, probably lethal. For 5, definitely. We get to steal Scourge, give both of them haste with the Strider, and just attack with everybody. Alright, and they are going to scoop them up there, and that's going to be 2-0 for us after a pretty grindy game there. Alright, here we are on the play for game 3. We have Synthesizer into Anointer, so Anointer can do at least 1 damage if Synthesizer is still on the board. Nice little card draw spell and removal spell in the middle there when we need them. Get things rolling with Ike or Synthesizer. Opponent's on mono white so far with a turn 2 Duelist to Deep Faith. Don't love that, but I don't think I'm gonna dose it here. They attack in, they're pretty much confirming they have a combat trick. Well, I guess Synthesizer can't kill it without a combat trick of my own. They could be on the bluff here. What's the worst that can happen if they have a combat trick? They complete Devotion and draw a card. It's not great for us, but they skip the turn in terms of playing another creature, so I think it's fine to go for the block here. If they have the trick, they don't play another creature, and if they don't have the trick, then we keep off of the poison damage. They are red-white, though, so they probably don't care too much about the poison damage. They might be trying to corrupt us still, though, for cards like the Flyer that can buff up your whole board. Kind of going to try to wait until I have 2 cards with oil on them to play the Anointer. So if I can wait till I play the Furnace Strider, that would be really good. I don't think I'm going to Mesmerizing Dose anything here. I'm definitely not going to Blue Sun's Twilight. That's what I'm going to draw off the Reckoning. So let's Augury here and see if we hit any important 2-drop before I pass. Another Ike or Synthesizer, a land, or a Rebel Salvo. Those are all incredible, but I think I actually take the land with Blue Sun's Twilight basically in hand here. And the 5-drop Furnace Strider we're trying to get to. Again, not playing Cacophony Scamp, because if I play it, then I can't play the other 2 cards here. These are, I pick one of these 3 to play, and I'm picking Twilight. Guaranteed. Alright, they don't have any equipment on board, so Jorkadine doesn't really do anything yet. We'll just play our Furnace Strider, make sure we have 2 oiled up cards on board, and keep blocking. If we can prolong this game to where we're Blue Sun's Twilighting for X equals 5, then should be in a winning position from there. Play it defensive here. Rebuke is really rude, because I really wanted to get this Anointer to trigger and shoot a 2 toughness creature. So that's a little frustrating for us. Oh, I should have blocked one of the Duelists to stay uncorrupted there. That was loose. I guess I'm going to be corrupted this turn either way. I think I'm going to dose the Jorkadine so they can't ever get any card draw off of it. And I'm threatening to block with a 3/3 against the 2/2s. Land number 6 from our opponent could be a little flooded with their red-white deck. Well, show me the trick. Didn't have it any other turn. Alright, they do have the Crescendo now. And a Cacophony Scamp. Chimney Rabble's pretty good here. There's nothing great to Twilight. I think I'm just on Chimney Rabble. Probably see a better Twilight target. Alright, I guess we're dead. Twilight's really bad against that bomb rare, because the bomb part is the equipment that they can just put on any of their creatures. Yep, this just was not a matchup that was going to work out for us. Alright. Basically game here. I can get 2 Rebel tokens, yay. And they could just move the equipment over. If I don't block both of these, I die because they can sack the Scamp to do an additional 3. And would have pretty much died on the spot there if I didn't Twilight. Alright. Dead to anything with a glider on it. That is 2-1 heading into game 4. Here we are in game 4 with another turn 3 Urabrask's Forge on the play. We don't have any 1 or 2 mana creatures to play beforehand, but still a very, very powerful card if they don't have a way to blow up the artifact. They're going to start the game a little behind here. Alright, island and pass the turn. Got an Experimental Augur we could play on turn 2, but I kind of like leaving all the Proliferate for after the Forge. Play around the 2-mana counterspell here. If they counter Forge, I can resolve Trawler Drake and just do that instead. The counterspell is not very popular. Alright, yeah, they do not have it here. Blue-white, pass the turn. Probably play the Trawler Drake now, although the Punisher does hit a little bit harder, a little bit faster. Although I do want to Proliferate, so I should probably play the creature that also gets the Proliferate benefit. Couple Might tokens from Charge of the Mites. Now an Unctus's Retrofitter to buff one of them. That's pretty cool. A lot of damage here, but I'm still not very worried. Augury into Island and then Dose. Go wild if there's an Island in the top 3. There is. Sorry, Volt Charge. I think Island is super worth it here. Make this tremendously hard to race. Could also just play Hexgold Sledge. Have 2 blockers up here. Still get a counter on Drake. Don't get a counter on Forge that way, but that's okay. Yeah, we can definitely outrace a Retrofitter. We don't need to dose immediately here. Yeah, they're just going to scoop them up. Forge and Trawler Drake with a little bit of Proliferate there. Pretty ridiculous start for us, and we're going to be 3-1 heading into round 5. Round 5 now. Turn 1 Glistener Seer to start scrying. into an Iker synthesizer as our potential threat. Forgot to put my upkeep stop. I hate that I have to do that on Arena to scry during my upkeep. She would just ask me if I want to. I guess we'll just start scrying in the end step instead. Voidwing Hybrid to start things off for our opponent is pretty bad for us because it's going to guarantee we get some poison counters here, and even if we kill it, it's likely to go back to their hand, so it's not great to just slam a removal spell on it. Grind to a quick Silverfisher. We don't even have a second island here, so I'm going to dump that, and it's also a 5-drop. Scry again because their whole board is flying. Get rid of that mountain. We've already got 4 in hand. And Urbrask's Forge is the draw. Okay. Well, turn 3 Urbrask's Forge, as we've seen before, is a heck of a card, so we'll just go for it again. See how far it can take us here. Definitely want to play that before anything else. Fingers crossed for very little main deck artifact removal from our opponent. Alright, we get our second poison counter from the Voidwing Hybrid. And Ambulatory Edifice is the play. Just going to be a 3-2 here, not going to kill anything. Okay. Is going to threaten some blocks. Kind of want to just Rebel Salvo the Raptor to get that out of the way, because it's kind of annoying as a blocker. The next turn we can Volt Charge. Synthesizer is going to be unblockable. Forge is going to be bigger. This seems fine to me. We are definitely going to be corrupted. Could get a Chump out of Seer, but if I wait I can Volt Charge, I'll get 2 more Scries out of it instead of just 1 more. Yeah, I'll just wait here, take 5. Go to 11 life and 3 poison. Now a Thrumming Bird is the play. Trawler Drake is the draw. That's kind of awkward. I'm pretty sure I have to just Volt Charge here, buff up the Synthesizer and the Forge. Which means I don't have the mana for Trawler Drake right now. Yeah, I'm just going to Volt Charge. Now we're going to hit for 7. It's 11 life to 11 life. They play a land. Send in for 5. We go down to 6. Head to Titanic Growth next turn, potentially. But I'll have a flying blocker with Trawler Drake. They do have Annihilating Glare for Synthesizer. Okay, that's Not good. Chimney Rebel is good, but it doesn't block Voidwing Hybrid. Still be dead to Titanic Growth. Play the Trawler Drake to get around it. No, I think I keep Chimney Rabble. If I die to Titanic Growth, I die to Titanic Growth. Beat just about anything else here. Outracing our opponent, holding up 2 blockers on the ground. And they don't seem to be heavy green. Yeah, as long as we survive this attack and we have 2 different jump blockers on the ground, we should kill them next turn. And they have to have some way to add to their power on board, even if they can wipe the whole board. Okay. Block there. Scry. Find an experimental augury, sure. We can play Trawler Drake into augury. There's another ambulatory edifice that will kill our goblin if they want, but they'd go to 1 life to do that. Alright, they're already super dead on board, but let's play everything we can. Make it extra dead. Can't play any of these immediately, so I'll just take Furnace Strider. Things somehow last another turn. If they last another turn, though, it's because our opponent wins. So if they go Removal Spell on the 7-1, Edifice blocks Rabble. If they Removal Spell the 7-1, they're going to guaranteed survive here, and if they can't Removal Spell the 7-1, they're guaranteed dead here. So I'm going to only attack with the 7-1s so that I survive a Crackback through a Removal Spell. Because the only way they survive here is removing the 7-1. And if they do and I attack with anything else, then I die on the Crackback. So they did have the removal spell on the 7-1, so we did play correctly there. We get another potential turn, where if they can't like kill Trawler Drake and buff Hybrid, then we just kill them next turn instead. Well, that is our 7th poison counter, but they're at 1 life now. Mesmerizing Dose the Flyer, then they need 2 removal spells. Need to be able to kill the Forge and the Drake. They counter that, they have 1 mana up. Another Whisper to kill that, they survive. Even if I attack all 3, they survive. And if they don't have another Whisper, the draws, they're dead, even if I only attack with the 8-1. Alright, they don't have another Whisper, so that will be 4 wins? I don't know how many losses though. I think it's just 1 loss still. As we head into round 6. Yep, 4-1, sorry, a little out of it today as I was saying earlier. But hey, there we go, pretty much breaking even no matter what now, good stuff. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 6. Kind of a weird hand. We have a 1-drop and then some 4s and not really anything to do in between. No oil for the Anointer, no spells for the Curator. I'm actually going to mulligan this, it's kind of awkward enough. This is a lot better. This is our super sick hand. We can go Synthesizer into Drake into Sledge, and they'll both get an oil counter on them for casting a non-creature spell. Some very nice setup here. Opponent starts Forest into Phyrexia Roach. Happy to have a 1-3 because if that hits me, it's going to keep buffing all their insects with additional Toxic, which includes itself. So it hits for 1 poison, then turns itself into a Toxic 2. Then hits for 2 poison, turns itself into Toxic 3. That is pretty spooky. So green-black poison from our opponent, and they're going to send both in. Well, show me the trick. And every time they use a combat trick, we're getting a poison counter because of the Venerated Rot Priest. Offer Immortality is the trick. At least this means they don't get to expand the board state. Chimney Rabble and Hexgold Sledge are both pretty phenomenal here. I'm going to go for the Hexgold Sledge. Gives us a 2-2 to block the Rot Priest, a 1-1 to block the Roach, and lets us move the equipment to the Trawler Drake. It feels like it accomplishes a lot here, giving us great blocks and a good attack. Spore Singer from our opponent probably proliferates. I guess it's a little better to buff because then they get in for 3 damage and put a poison on us instead of just putting a poison on us, which is what Proliferate would do. Well, there's an Anointer with only 1 oiled up card, but I can kill the Roach with it. Probably better than playing Rabble here. I'm cool with it. Could make this a 4-1 trample, trade it into one of these and hit for a little bit more damage. That seems fine. Cool. Get the Spore Singer out of the way. Hit for an additional damage we wouldn't have otherwise. Pestilence Siphoner, a little 1-1 body. Like having a bunch of 2-2s against that. And our opponent's just over it. Our board state is wide, our board state is larger than theirs, and we have an equipment to move around, so we are going to be 5-1 as we head into round 7. Here we are on the play for round 7. We don't play anything of our own till turn 4. We can play 1 piece of interaction on 3, but it's a really slow hand, so I'm going to mulligan it. This is even worse. If I don't hit any lands, I play nothing. If I don't hit a mountain, I'm not playing a lot either. This is a mold of 5. Yeah. Looks like a pretty bad start to the game. But we'll see. We could draw straight gas if we're lucky. Opponent's on red-white, but they don't have anything to play yet. On their turn 2. Thrill of Possibility it is. Discard a card and draw 2. Turn 3 they have a Gold Warden's Helm for a 2-3. Sure, I don't think I need to salvo that. They have 3-3 Menace, pass the turn. Blade Hold War Whip coming down, and we are going to have some major issues here. 2-2 Double Striker. Ooh, well, now I've got a win con, so Urbrask's Forge and just try to get that to take over the game here. If I attack with Furnace Punisher, they double block. I kill the double striking 2-2. Doesn't seem bad, but I'm going to wait till I have Rebel Salvo up. Okay, Furnace Strider. They're going to haste it out and get aggro? No, they're going to hold it up for blocks. Fair enough. Salvo their Strider, but I think I'd rather just play my own right now. I'm just going to play this and pass. I could go to combat and send Punisher in, and there are some bad blocks they could make. But if they just go Strider, Double Striker on Punisher, that doesn't end super well for me. Like, I can salvo the Strider and then trade with the Double Striker. But, I don't know, it just doesn't feel super worth it. Kemba's Outfitter can make Bladehold Warwhip cost only 1 mana to equip now, which is actually absurd. Being able to move around a double strike equipment for 1 mana is brutal. Yeah, now we're just in a really bad spot. The Outfitter Warwhip combo coming in hot. So I'm just going to take 8 to the face here. And just salvo the Strider next turn. Problem is we take 8 to the face and they can just move the equipment back around for only 1 mana and still have it on blocks. They just always have a double strike blocker for our X1 from the Forge. Yeah, no, this is just not a winnable matchup again. These cards just pair really nicely against the Forge. Having the first strike against the... Even if this was a 50 power creature, it's a 51 with trample, which means it gets first striked and never deals damage to them. So just being able to move around Warwhip for 1 mana is just game. Not much we can do here. If I can chip in for a little bit of damage here, get them to a point where they would die to 1 hit from a trampler, I can then just salvo whatever they choose to block with and trample all of the damage over. So if I can get some amount of chip damage in with like Furnace Strider, Furnace Punisher, go for it. I should have sent in the trampler as well because it was going to die anyway. Gonna double block the menace creature, take 4? Sure. I'll kill the one with the helm on it because they're just going to move the Warwhip off that one anyway. Guess I could kill both with salvo, but then I don't have the surprise salvo lethal later. Yeah, that was a really bad attack. We needed to send in the token as well. Force them to put the 2/2 there. Or take another few damage. Just a little out of it. Our Flesh Cutter doesn't really do anything, so we're cool with that. I guess if they put Flesh Cutter and Warwhip onto one thing, that's kind of scary. Sure. Oh, I'm just kind of ready to scoop this game. Move on to the next one. Just gonna spam through here. I'm not at the physical and mental capacity to care that much today. Need like 2 chump blockers. I think I am playing Rabble here. Yeah, I might have had a shot here if I played this one out perfectly. Got some earlier attacks in. The Menace Creature and the Rabbler. But again, it was always going to be a really uphill battle against a 1-mana Warwhip combo. Making my Forge almost completely nullified. Yep, Trample on the Outfitter is pretty obnoxious. Good for 3 here. Nice trick. And that's game. Alright, here we are now in game number 8, which is hopefully the last game for my health and sanity. I actually kind of want to lose this game. 5 wins is more than enough for me. And I am getting very tired. But I will still try to play to my best here. Well, that didn't work super well last game. We did not play very well there. Volt Charge gets 2 counters on Synthesizer, keeps this Rebel off of me. Augury does get 2 counters on Synthesizer as well. You know what? I think we probably hold, make the block if they do any trick, then we Volt Charge. If they don't, then we Augury in the end step. Find a second island for Blue Sun's Twilight. Alright, Fuseling. Skull Bomb. Tapped. Land. So here's Augury, getting another Synthesizer or an island. I'm just going to take the second island for Twilight. Go Rabble instead here, which is tempting. They have to double block to kill it. Then next turn with 5 mana I can curve out really well where I'm playing Convert and Volt Charge and using all of my mana. That sets up for an early Blue Sun's Twilight the turn after. Oh, hey Chimney Rabble. How's it going, homie? You're on the wrong side of the board. I guess we can rectify that later. Steal it with Blue Sun's Twilight. Ooh, another Chimney Rabble. Well, tempting. Tempting. I think we're on this Volt Charge though. Get the Synthesizer hitting in. Just kill the biggest creature we can with Volt Charge. Kill Rabble with Fuseling Goblin or 2/2 Goblin. It's all fine. Fuseling Goblin it is. No, Fuseling Rebel it is. Or Goblin and Rebel it is. Make the exuberant Fuseling of 4 power. Just a 4/1 trampler here. Can get a pretty good swing in with the Skull Bomb. Planar Disruption on Ike or Synthesizer, very sad. Don't like to see that. Okay, I can Twilight and copy it, but the only thing I can choose is Fuseling. Then I have a 4/1 trample and a 1/1 trample. If I do that, doesn't feel incredibly worth it. I'm probably just going to play Chimney Rabble here and send it in. Could send in Mere Convert as well, honestly. We're at 17 life. They put a Hex Gold Halberd on their Fuseling, that is going to be an issue. To be worried about. I guess if Convert dies here... Convert dies, I can't guarantee that I'm Twilighting for 5, so I guess we'll just send in the Chimney Rabble. Trade with Lightbringer. Yeah, the plan's probably for them to put Halberd on Fuseling now. First Striking, Trampling, Fuseling. Mainly First Striking being the problem, it already has Trample. Then we'll have to just use Blue Sun's Twilight as removal. Okay, they're gonna play Bardiche. Okay, Cacophony Scamp. That is very good against the Fuseling. Even if they put First Strike on it, Cacophony Scamp will kill it, so I'm no longer that worried about it. I guess if they put a Bardiche on it, that would be an issue. It's their equipments that are all the issues here. But I can't do anything about the equipment with Twilight. So am I on Blue Suns for double Fuseling? The Vigilance is such a huge deal from Bardiche. Good lord. I guess I do get attacks in this turn at least by stealing the 4/3. But yeah, then they just go Vigilance and Halberd on Fusling. We'll just die to that. Just gotta go full speed ahead, try to outrace them here. They'd have to hit untapped land to put both equipment on Fusling this turn. So they are gonna cycle the Skull Bomb, try to get there. Again, I could have taken Fusling there, which might have been better, but we wouldn't be able to get any attacks in here. But I could see just trying to really play the long game, pull the Fusling to our board as a blocker, and then they can't really do anything with the Rebel. Actually, no, that's not true. Like, we're kind of screwed either way, because if we took Fusling and we had, you know, a 6-1 and a 1-1 on our board instead, they could just end up putting the Halberd on the Bardished up 4-3, and then they have a 4-power first striker against my board state. It would be 5 1-toughness creatures. Yeah, like, this looks pretty bad here, but either way, we're just getting eaten up by whatever creature's on their board. They top deck Jorkadine here. That is horrific. Now they get to draw a card every turn. Oh my god, Rebel Salvo is such a draw. That is such a draw. I think we have to kill Fusling. Sure, they get to suit up Jorkadine and start drawing cards off of it, but if we don't kill Fusling, it's going to be a Vigilant First Striker with 8 power, and we're just going to die. So we need to shoot Fusling. Attack in with all our 2-power creatures. They could kill a 1-1 and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. We kill it pre-combat, so we hit a little harder. They kill 1-1, we hit for 7. Oh, they're going to take the trade here for the Convert. Alright. Last card in their hand must be decent then. Or they're just trying to clear out some power on the board, give them a little more time to find another play. Alright, Furnace Dredge is big. They block a 2-2, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, never mind, they're actually just dead on board because of Cacophony Scamp's bonus text. Get in there, bonus text. I'm gonna sack it. Deal 1 extra damage. And that is gonna be game. We are 6-2. We're heading into a final boss, win or lose. The final round of Magic for today. Here we are in the final round of Magic. I am going to keep this hand, it's close, but I do have 1 early game play and 2 great pieces of cheap interaction. So we're going to keep the hand here, fingers crossed here against our opponent on the play. Turn 1 Prosthetic Injector, likely to nullify our Cacophony Scamp, because it does do 1 damage to anything when it dies, but the Injector giving an additional 2 toughness to whatever they put it on. Gonna make it really hard for Scamp to shoot anything. There's an Experimental Augury from our opponent, so at least they're not putting anything on the board yet. Hit for 1 and pass the turn. Opponent's on blue-black, 2 swamps and an island. Infectious Inquiry is the play, again not affecting the board in any way, so we're not under any pressure. Unfortunately, our hand is slow as well, so we're not pressuring them either. But next turn, Chimney Rabble should be pretty good. If they play anything good this turn, we have 2 different removal spells to choose from. Alright, prologue to Phyrexia. They're just going to start trying to load up the poison onto us with just spells. Double prologue puts us to 3 poison total. Not sure if we're a fast enough deck to win this kind of matchup here. I think our deck might be like the ideal matchup for them, something that's kind of mid-rangey, like in between quick and really slow. I think super aggressive decks could just steamroll this kind of just put a bunch of poison on your opponent with spells kind of deck. But our deck is not that fast, especially not the opening hand here. Yeah, blue-black poison control it is. Could be a rough matchup for us. There's a Pestilent Siphoner. Probably need to kill that just to be nice and safe. Luckily, Cacophony Scamp can do that without the need to play anything else. Now we play Quicksilver Fisher, draw a card and discard a card. Fingers crossed for a land. Urabrask's Forge. That should be good against them here. Dose might not be great. We have 2 other removal spells anyway if we need them. I'll drop the Dose here. I think it's definitely a removal spell we need to drop for this kind of matchup. Still only at 3 poison? Never mind, I was going to say. Like, we always have to be scared that they can just play 3 spells in one turn and get like 3 poison on us, but at 3 poison that's not that bad. Alright. 5 poison. It's getting real sketchy. Halfway there. I have Synthesizer into Forge now. Actually, Forge Volt Charge might have been lethal if I played right. We would have hit them for 3 more with Volt Charge and 1 more with Forge because we would have proliferated. So we would have put them to 1 life. Okay, it would have been lethal. Would not have been lethal, so Synthesizer was the better play, I think. Already lethal on board. Super lethal with Volt Charge. I think I just go for on-board lethal first. And just Volt Charge if we need to. Alright, opponent just flooded out a little in the end there. Unfortunate stuff for them. I do think that blue-black kind of Prologue to Phyrexia deck can be really scary. I've seen some builds of it going around on Twitter that are really cool, where if you can get like a playset of Prologues like they have here, you can build a deck like this where you cut down to like 13, 14 lands even, and just run all these cantrips that put poison counters on your opponent, and that's just like all you play all game. You just slam down a bunch of those. You have like a playset of Anoints in there to stay protected. So I was kind of scared when I started off that matchup, and then scared when I hit the 5th poison, but in the end they just couldn't find the follow through. I think they just hit too many lands. You really need to hit a ton of non-lands for that kind of strategy. You got to go fast to not die to all the just general creatures in the format. So cool deck from our opponent, but not quite going to make it in the end. So we are going to get a 7-win run today, which is quite nice. Sick boy hours. We make it all the way to 7 wins with the illness, because we are the illest today. Alright, we'll see one final look at the deck here, but I am going to be logging off very soon. And getting a nice little nap in there. Nice little nappy. Yeah, super mega bombs in this deck. We didn't draw Koth a single time, so that's a little sad. Urabrask's Forge was our best bomb by far. That won almost every game we drew it in. Blue Sun's Twilight actually didn't work out very well in a couple of those games. Once I think it was like just too expensive, and the other time our opponent just had the really powerful 4-mutant equipment. So the equipments were really the problem rather than the creatures themselves. It did still win the game against the Fuseling because we drew well after we played it. But that was similar where our opponent had so many equipments that this wasn't really helping too much. But then we just drew straight gas afterwards. But yeah, the first time that we had a bad Blue Sun's Twilight was against the rare equipment that gives things flying, and there it was really just not doing much of anything. Still clearing out a Rebel token, but still having us die. So a little sad we never got to play Koth, but we got to play our Hexgold Sledge in one of those games. It was phenomenal. So we got to show off that new alchemy card. That was sweet. Got to show off Tezzeret's Reckoning. letting us just have that Blue Sun's Twilight sitting there staring at us. That was cool. Yeah, so played some new alchemy cards, played some incredible bombs from the regular format, and that's kind of all we did here. Other than that, got a little bit of damage in with unblockable synthesizers or big trawler drakes. Just general blue-red nonsense, a lot of chimney rabbles, just being a great card in the format. A little bit of Quicksilver Fisher in the end there. Glistener Seer to scry to the rares was great. Pretty self-explanatory stuff in the end is going to take us to a 7-win run, max prizes, and we will move on with our life. Well, that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feeds. If you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.